Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at another of the new HISUIAN Pokemon, HISUIAN Sneasel, in the HISUI Cup. HISUIAN Sneasel is a fighting and poison type Pokemon with the moveset of Poison Jab, X-Scissor, and Close Combat. HISUIAN Sneasel has a very large attack stat, but very little HP or defense, making it an extreme glass cannon. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out HISUIAN Sneasel in action in the HISUI Cup. Hopping into the first match, leading Frostlass into Gastrodon. This is a pretty nice lead. Opponent is going to save switch into an Empoleon, and we have a great response in Lucario. I will need to shield once, but then I can fully farm down and leave with a ton of energy to either deal a massive amount of damage onto the Gastrodon, or even better, to get my shield back. Opponent is going to be waiting out their switch clock, and then back in comes the Gastrodon. No point in baiting here, I'm going straight for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does get the shield, which is quite nice, and then since I have switch advantage, I'm not going to wait out my switch clock, I'm just going to immediately bring in Frostlass. Frostlass going straight for the Avalanche. That does a nice amount of damage onto the Gastrodon. They're going to fire off the Earth Power here. I don't know what they have in the back, so I decide to protect the Frostlass. And they have a Bastiodon in the back. And now it is HISUIAN Sneasel time. HISUIAN Sneasel doing basically no damage with the Poison Jab fast moves, but we do have access to Close Combat. They go for the Flamethrower. We tank it, and I'm able to reach the back-to-back Close Combats. Going for the first. Close Combat gets the shield, and now we're at the second. This is going to be double super effective. Massive damage onto the Bastiodon. With the defense drop, we do get farmed down. In comes Frostlass. Frostlass reaches the Avalanche, which is going to be taking care of the Bastiodon. Can Gastrodon reach a move? This will be close. Frostlass able to reach the Avalanche. Avalanche is going to be taking down the Gastrodon. And that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a pretty nice lead, Frostlass into HISUIAN Electrode. Electrode would outpace here, but they decide to overfarm by one and play into the CMP tie. Avalanche should be grabbing a shield, but then the Electrode is going to be able to fire back with Wild Charge. I can survive this, but not well, as that does massive damage. They save switch into their own Frostlass, and I respond with Lucario. Lucario with the shield advantage does pretty nicely here, so I don't really have to bait. I'm going to shield everything, overfarm, and then go for the Shadow Ball on what should be a CMP tie to the next move. Shadow Ball would easily KO, so they decide to burn their last shield, and I will as well. So now all shields are down, which is definitely scary when they still have a fairly healthy HISUIAN Electrode left alive in the back. So I will farm up as much as I can, fire off the Shadow Ball on the CMP tie, and take down the Frostlass. I'm expecting them to bring in the Electrode, and that is what they do. I'm going to commit to the Shadow Ball here to force them to throw a Wild Charge, which is going to debuff their defense, and then we'll have to see what HISUIAN Sneasel can do in the endgame. And they have Shadow Drapion in the back, and this is where Close Combat comes in clutch. Hello, Drapion. Goodbye, Drapion. And that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a dream lead, Frostlass into Gliscor. Opponent is going to immediately save switch into Toxicroak. And honestly, this is a bit of a problem. My backline doesn't have great responses to Toxicroak, so I kind of need to stay in here. Avalanche does get shielded, and this Toxicroak is going to be firing off a Mud Bomb. I do live this, so I am going to let that through. Go for the Avalanche, but I do lose CMP to the Toxicroak. That is quite unfortunate. I'm going to shield up, fire back with the Avalanche, really hoping they decide to let it go, because I do not want this Toxicroak alive, but they do shield. Toxicroak goes for the farm down. Frostlass able to live on very low HP, reach the last second Avalanche, and that is able to win me switch advantage. They bring in Gliscor, and I bring in Lucario. I have to watch for the catch. They do switch into Shadow Drapion, and in comes HISUIAN Sneasel. Sneasel should be able to tank any one move here. They go for the crunch. We tank that, no problem, and I'm going straight for the Close Combat. Close Combat is going to be doing massive damage to the Shadow Drapion. And back in comes Gliscor. HISUIAN Sneasel on very low HP, able to reach a last second X-Scissor. That does some chip damage. Lucario has the Shadow Ball loaded, and that is game over. Shadow Ball taking down the Gliscor, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, picking up a pretty tough lead, Frostlass into Shadow Drapion. I immediately save switch into Lucario, and my opponent responds with Cresselia. But with an energy lead and some successful baits, Lucario can actually flip this. I go for the power-up punch, I get the shield, and now we are in business. I'm going to be shielding everything here. Lucario is very, very glassy. But from here, I should be able to go straight Shadow Ball now that I've baited once and be able to win switch. Shadow Ball does get the shield. Cresselia, recognizing it, wants to keep switch, but Lucario is not going to let that happen. I shield up the Moonblast. I'm able to reach the Shadow Ball. This will be taking down the Cresselia and giving me switch advantage. So that way I can align my HISUIAN Sneasel onto that Drapion later in the game. Back in comes the Drapion. They fire off the Aqua Tail to take down Lucario, but now I can align it onto my HISUIAN Sneasel. The thing I do have to be mindful of here is a potential catch, but I'm hopeful that I can get it into X-Scissor range. So I farm up to the close combat, and I'm going for the X-Scissor. I don't think this will quite KO, but it will be getting it low. I switch, and I'm actually able to catch an Aqua Tail back onto the Frostlass. So a bit of a miscalculation there by me. In the back is HISUIAN Electrode. They're forced a Wild Charge, otherwise I would be able to reach an Avalanche. And now that they're debuffed, I can very safely X-Scissor with the HISUIAN Sneasel. Sneasel will be able to take down the Electrode, farm down the Drapion, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Frostlass into Drifblim. This is a very, very nice lead for Frostlass. Opponent safe switches into Empoleon, and I immediately respond with Lucario. We've seen how this plays out before. I one shield, farm all the way down, and that way I leave with a ton of energy to threaten the Drifblim. Because Drifblim really does not appreciate Shadow Balls from Lucario. They are going to be waiting out the switch timer and bring back in that Drifblim. No baiting here. I'm going straight for the Shadow Ball. It connects. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, sending Frostlass into Lucario. Definitely happy to catch the Lucario on the lead, and they're staying in, which is even better. They decide to throw after 5, meaning they're going straight for the power-up punch. I don't have to shield this. I'm going to build up to the Shadow Ball and fire off the Avalanche bait. Avalanche does get the shield from Lucario. That's huge. Lucario farms up, but again, not enough for a Shadow Ball, so I'm not going to shield, but I'm going to be able to reach my Shadow Ball, meaning if they want to keep this Lucario alive, they're going to have to give me both shields. Shadow Ball gets the shield, and here I make a massive mistake. Instead of save switching into the Lucario, I save switch into the HISUIAN Sneasel, which is then immediately walled by Drifblim. This is not good, because Drifblim is now going to be able to get a massive energy lead off of my HISUIAN Sneasel. I'm firing off X-Scissor after X-Scissor, doing the best that I can, but this is just a miserable matchup. They go for the Shadow Ball, and I get taken out. And now it's all up to Lucario. I don't know what they have in the back, but I have to hope that Lucario has a chance to beat it. I shield the Shadow Ball, I go for my own, and we win CMP. That's huge. This will be taking out the Drifblim. What do they have in the back? They bring in Lucario. They're probably just looking to get my final shield here. I will shield up the power-up punch. I kind of have to. And it's an XL Drifloon in the back. I was so stunned, I didn't throw my Shadow Ball, allowing them to get to an Icy Wind, and that is a massive mistake. I reset the debuff, bring in my Lucario, and this Shadow Ball should be enough to take them out. The question is, will one counter kill their Lucario? It will not, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Frostlass into Empoleon. Not a great lead, so I'm going to immediately save switch into Lucario. They bank some energy, and then bring in Frostlass. I have a huge energy lead. I try and go for the power-up punch, but I accidentally farm too much and allow them to get to the first move. That's not great, as I typically like to make them make the first shielding decision. I go for the power-up punch bait, they call it, and things are starting to go downhill rapidly. I'm going to go for another power-up punch bait. This time, I do get the shield, but they're at a second move, meaning that if I want to keep this energy, I have to give up my final shield. Thankfully, I do have a ton of energy. I'm going to go for the power-up punch here and undercharge it so it won't be enough to KO. I undercharge it, they go for the snipe with Empoleon, but I'm able to reach the last second power-up punch. Power-up punch KOs the Empoleon, and in the back, they have a Sunny Cherrim. In comes HISUIAN Sneasel, and these poison jabs are tearing through the Sunny Cherrim. Sunny Cherrim is going to fire off a last second move, just a weather ball. We should be able to farm down the Frostlass too, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, leading Frostlass into another Empoleon. Not a great lead, but we know what to do. We save switch Lucario, and the opponent responds with a Staraptor. Oh my goodness, the spice. I am going to be throwing power-up punch after power-up punch because Staraptor has absolutely no bulk. So if they want to farm down, they're going to have to give me both shields. From here, I'm more than happy to shield once on the Frostlass and farm down because Frostlass with a shield advantage can be incredibly deadly. They bring back in the Empoleon, but they took a few counters on that Empoleon, meaning that this is probably close to Shadow Ball range. I tank the Hydro Cannon, go for the Shadow Ball, and then I just have to hope that HISUIAN Sneasel is going to be able to close out the match. In comes HISUIAN Sneasel, and they have their own Frostlass in the back. Thankfully, I do have a shield, so I am going to be shielding up. I only have resisted moves here, but close combat should still do a large amount of damage. So I farm up, go for the back-to-back close combats, but this is CMP. I need this to kill. It barely does not, and now the question is, can my Frostlass farm down theirs? This Avalanche KOs my Frostlass, able to farm down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, picking up a pretty nice lead. Opponent save switches into Abomasnow, and I'm going to respond with Lucario. Lucario just has a dominating matchup here, as we can just go straight for the counter down. They go for a Weather Ball, that's totally fine. They try and make it to the Energy Ball, they fail to do so, and we leave with a lot of loaded energy. They bring in the Toxicroak, and this Shadow Ball is going to do massive damage unless they decide to commit the shield, which they do. So now, I have Switch advantage and Shield advantage. I go for the Avalanche, but I end up losing CMP to the Toxicroak. Toxicroak fires off the Mud Bomb. That's no problem, and I'm going to fire back with the Avalanche. Do they want to give up that final shield? They do not. In the back, they have a Poison Jab Roserade, and I have a Poison Jab HISUIAN Sneasel. X-Scissor is able to grab the final shield, and from here, I have 2 shields left, so I should be in the driver's seat of this match. I just need to shield the Weather Balls as they come, go for the X-Scissor, and that is going to be taking care of the Roserade, and then all that's left is the Toxicroak, and that is a good game. All in all, if you enjoy running glass cannons, I imagine you'll probably enjoy running HISUIAN Sneasel. It's not a Pokemon that I would say is top meta by any means, but it does have some solid niche play, and close combat on a Pokemon with a high attack stat, especially when shields are down, can be incredibly deadly. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you is always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.